Welcome back to another Digital Foyer. My name is Father Isaac, one of the associate pastors here, and I'm joined by Noreen.
Yes, Noreen, and I am a pastoral director here. It means that we're on the PLT, the pastoral leadership team, together.
Yeah, we're helping Father Simon lead the parish, which is great. It's a fun job. It's a fun team. And we are here today to talk to you about some misconceptions that people might have about the Catholic faith, because the reality is there's a lot of strange things that we believe, but there's a lot of even stranger things that we don't believe.
Let's just call it. There's a lot of strange things that we believe.
There's a lot of strange things that we believe as Catholics. We own that. We're gonna stand in that. Yeah. But there's a lot of even stranger things that we don't believe, and ironically, there's some things that people think like, oh yeah, don't Catholics believe this? And I'm constantly like, no, I don't believe that. So yeah, it's just, we thought it would be interesting to talk about some of these misconceptions, especially, I was raised Catholic, but Noreen, it was a different story for you, right?
Yeah, I was born Catholic in the sense that I was baptized, and I even had First Communion, but we never, ever really went to Mass. So I didn't really know anything about Jesus. As a matter of fact, I became a Christian in a Nazarene church and started reading the Bible voraciously, and came into church one day and smacked the Bible down on the table and said, why didn't anybody tell me? They tell you what? Tell me that he's coming back. You think that would be news? So I was totally...
that Jesus comes back.
Jesus comes back. It's like, whoa, okay. So like I was that much of an, I just didn't know. I didn't know. But since I was 16 when I met Jesus, I spent most of my life and my marriage and raising my kids in different evangelical and charismatic churches. And yes, there are some absolute misconceptions even amongst our brothers and sisters that are pretty wild. Like when I first came here, Father James was preaching on a passage in the book of Hebrews that says about the priesthood of all believers. And I thought, whoa, Catholics believe in the priesthood of all believers? I thought that they believed that you had to go through a priest to get to Jesus.
Yeah, and that's so interesting. Maybe if you were born and raised Catholics, you might be thinking, well, wait, what is she talking about? So priesthood of all believers is this idea that when we're baptized into Jesus, and so we share in his prophetic ministry, his kingly ministry, and his priesthood, kind of this common priesthood of all believers, that we're able to offer sacrifices to God, we're able to pray, we're able to sanctify and make the world holy. That's actually what we're supposed to do. But in the Catholic context, normally people wouldn't look at Noreen and say, oh, she's a priest. They would look at me and say I'm a priest, but not necessarily that. But in a spiritual sense, we all share in this priesthood of Jesus, but in a special way, through my ordination of holy orders, I share in that priestly ministry of Jesus in a unique way.
Right.
Yeah.
But we don't negate the idea that all of us are to carry Jesus everywhere we go.
No.
And all of us are to be Jesus everywhere we go. Yeah, so that was a real discovery for me.
Yeah, cool.
And all right, another discovery, not necessarily I never even thought about it so as to get it wrong. But you mentioned the idea that you and I helped Father Simon lead the church. Mm-hmm. One of the misconceptions out there is that women don't lead in the Catholic Church.
Oh.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. Is that perception. Because of women aren't priests or aren't deacons, there's this idea that women don't lead. As a matter of fact, we had an organization called Flourishing Congregations that came to our parish to meet with us and find out why we're flourishing. They were meeting with churches across Canada to figure this out. And at the end of their time with us, which was about 6 months, one of the things she said to me, and she's coming from a Protestant world, what really surprised her was that seeing in our parish, women were actually having more of an impact on leadership than in many of the Protestant churches where they say that women can bear the title pastor.
Okay, very interesting. Yeah, and so part of that misconception would be because we don't have women priests or bishops, or certainly popes, like if you so because of that, women don't kind of have any leadership in the church, would be the misconception. But actually, there's lots of different ways, throughout history, but even in our current times right now, like women are highly involved in leadership at all levels of the Catholic Church.
The saint that I chose at my confirmation in the Catholic Church in 2018 was Saint Teresa of Avila. So in her time, in the 1500s, the fact of these books that she's producing and writing, women in her time, no, there was nothing like that. There was no way for women to express themselves that way. And reading her stuff today, it's just as relevant.
Yeah. Well, she certainly had leadership. I mean, how many convents was she running by the end of her life? Like,
Yeah.
so many.
And she's a doctor of the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very high position.
So
yeah.
that was a learning for me about the Catholic Church.
Well,
I had a misconception that was resolved.
See, this kind of stuff is so helpful for me because, again, I was born and raised in it, and I've heard different things at different times, but especially like coming from someone like you where you're like, oh, and this, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that people even thought that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one that I hear consistently is that Catholics worship Mary. Maybe you've heard that yourself, or if you were raised Catholic or you're a Catholic now, you've been kind of accused of that. Hey, don't you worship Mary? And on one level, I can understand where the misconception comes from because we have statues of Mary in our churches and we do pray to Mary, we do talk with her. And so sometimes if you don't understand what's happening, that can look like, like necromancy, like are we trying to conjure up the dead or like talk to ghosts or even idolatry, right? Because of the whole statue thing or the images thing. And so how have you kind of been able to understand that deeper? Or, yeah.
That's actually a really interesting question because when I first started coming around and realizing that I might be Catholic, there was a discomfort I felt with Mary. Like I was going to this sort of a praise and worship kind of night called The Bridge on a regular basis. And they would often have the divine praises as part of the prayer, which is this kind of a prayer that goes back and forth. So they would sing something and we would sing it back to them. And most of the stuff we sang had to do about God. And then it switched to the things that we were singing about having to do with Mary. And I just wouldn't sing them back because I didn't know what I felt about it. Yeah. But I found that as I have made space for Mary, she has a lot more to do with showing me how to say yes to Jesus. I honestly think I will never understand surrender completely in this life. I think I learn how to surrender more and more. I think she's the only one of us, the only human who ever surrendered fully. And I think because of that, in my time in the charismatic church, we would talk about thin places. So that would be somewhere geographically where there was a lot of prayer and a lot of people who surrendered their lives to Jesus. And so you'd walk in the room and you'd say, wow, the veil between heaven and earth is thin. Right? It dawned on me that with Mary's most complete yes, and with Jesus himself, God himself, growing inside her very body, how could she become anything else other than the thinnest of places? That joint between heaven and earth, where we have a chance to come that much closer to Jesus, not to her.
Yeah, but to Jesus through her. Yeah, it's really beautiful how you put it that way. And that's why I honestly believe Mary is such a powerful person to ask her for her help and prayers, because when we talk to Mary, when we pray to her, it's not that we're worshiping her, because as Catholics, we're actually forbidden. We're not allowed to worship anyone other than God. There's only one God. And so with Mary, like all the saints, they're not actually dead. Like, they're alive. They're with Jesus. They're in heaven. And so through Jesus, the one mediator, we're able to talk to all of his friends that are united to him. And so that's what we're doing when we pray to Mary. The statues, the pictures, they're just there to help us kind of visualize and be able to pray better. And so I just think that all of these different misconceptions, a lot of people just haven't heard of them. And they haven't heard kind of what we really do believe as Catholics. And so hopefully this has been helpful for you to kind of realize what we believe, and maybe more importantly, what we don't believe.
Yeah.
So,
And come check it out.
Come check it out.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Yeah, it's good. Well, thanks for being on with me, Noreen. I love these kinds of conversations.
I have more questions than I could possibly ever ask you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll hear some of them on the next Digital Foyer.